sort of bottles. Well, let me divide this customer experience up into some of the categories. You may not have looked at it before. Let's start with language. It's my contention that we actually hold back the customer experience in this country because of the language that we attribute to it, the language we use to describe it, the language we use in organisations, to give it a big profile. One of the words that really does concern me is the over-reliance on the term satisfaction. Now, satisfaction, there's a noun somewhere between sort of mild surprise, and disappointment, isn't it? I mean, if I offered you a satisfactory night out in Brighouse, how you're laughing, but you're probably crying inside, aren't you? Thinking, my God, can't things get any better? But we have taken customer satisfaction, which is an industry, the customer satisfaction measurement industry. Yeah, it's a generic term. But we use satisfaction to the point that our chief executives will stand up in the retail sector, in the private sector, and say, not only have we achieved these profits, but 80% of our customers are satisfied. And I'm thinking to myself, right, well, that's 80% they've lost. What about the other 20? Because, as I'm sure you know, any studies done show that satisfaction is no indication of a customer's desire to stay with you. And I know we operate in a different context, but in terms of advocating you as holding the franchise and delivering the services, purely being satisfied is never going to be anywhere enough. And of course, interesting, you look at the States, you look at Southeast Asia, and you see words like delight on questionnaires. Not how satisfied are you, but are you with delight? Is it different? Is it memorable? Is it unique? They are the sort of things that companies who are really pushing forward, organisations that are really serious about the customer experience are using. So satisfaction. Maybe Ann Summers, there's a business where satisfaction might be an appropriate term, where you emit a small squeak if you're happy. How did you think about the attire that you bought last week? You go, oh, that'll do for me. No, then, take another example. How do we describe our people who are in customer, tenant, or resident-facing positions? Where do we say they are? Absolutely. Yeah, they're at the front line. Where does that analogy come from? I've just been watching, I've watched back-to-back 6 episodes of Pacific. Tell you, there's been so many limbs flying past me in 3D over the last 3 weeks. Tell you what, it's like Friday night in concert. It's like, but the bottom line is, you're going to tell someone, right, I'm working on the front line. And we managers say it proudly, don't we? I'm going to spend a week working on the front line. Oh, that's good. It's like the opposite to General Haig, isn't it? Running in the opposite direction. Sorry, allegedly. But the bottom line is, if we're going to use language like front line, we need to understand that that's a military analogy. I'm coming from the northeast. When somebody tells me, oh yes, but you were yet to work at the coalface, I just love that one. I mean, those of us from the northeast, when we hear the phrase coalface, what positive motivational images appear in the front of our eyes? Is it a lifeless pit pony being dragged breathlessly from a pit, from a pit shaft? I don't know, but it doesn't make me want to get up and run into work and start hugging people. There are things that do. I'll reveal that later on just to keep you interested. There is one story which relates to hugging people at work. So there we are. What about the other one? The sharp end. I like the sharp end. That's a good one, isn't it? I prefer to sit at a desk on compressed air, but apparently those brave people at the front who are at the front line and at the coalface are also at the sharp end. So they sat with a tin hat on, with pneumoconiosis, sat on a spike and saying, the bastards are coming over the hill, get your bayonets out. How are we creating that and I know it's, there's a lot of humour in that, but if you think about it, it extends beyond that. When we talk about aspirational performance, what word do we use in British industry? Standard. Yeah, would you like a standard night out in Halifax? As opposed to the, satisfactory night out in Brighouse. Standard. We've met our standards. Oh, congratulations. Now you're average. It's just the words we use. Standard. Think about it. Standard. Somebody said to me the other day, we're going to have a big conference and we're going to look at innovation. We're going to be brainstorming. We're going to be a bit left field, a little bit wee, a little bit woo. So what's it going to be? So it's going to be a convention. I said, no, I wouldn't go with that. I'd call it unconvention. Well, why would you call it that? Oh, forget it. It's just... So there we are. We're in the world of satisfaction. We're in and the last analogy. Let's say you come to Joe Rigatoni's, fantastic restaurant. Thank you, guys. Brilliant food, great place. You sit down here and say that, no, we won't do this one. We'll do a restaurant that don't have the same, not standards, but benchmarks, levels of excellence that Joe Rigatoni's have. Let's say you're at one of Joe Rigatoni's competitors around Halifax, around Harrogate, and you're served a piece of fish that's so underdone it's still making arrangements for the rest of the evening. You prod it with your fork, the waiter walks past and says, how is everything? And because we're British, what do we say? We do, don't we? So, sticking with the food analogy, how many people here have got a partner, a wife, a husband, a friend, for whom who may be cooking a meal for you this evening? By show of hands. Okay, right, okay. I'm going to pick this particular audience member for this one. Now just imagine, while you're here, that your better half is at this moment at a farmer's market somewhere, somewhere posh. Hey? He's a butcher. All right, okay. Well, he's probably preparing a nice piece of fillet. He's wrapping it with a fat bit of marbling in there, more of a sirloin. He's got some great wine sourced, preparing the room so that when you get back tonight, hours and hours and hours. He's had his Jamie out. I got to rephrase that. He's been looking at it. It's amazing what's on the telly in the afternoons these days. He's got his cookbook out. He's prepared you a fantastic meal, absolutely phenomenal meal. So you get home tonight. The lights are low. Classical music is playing softly, romantic music. You follow a line of candles to the dining table. You sit down. You can see his elegant profile in the candlelight. He leans across. He presents you with your first amuse-bouche. You wouldn't think that was from concert, would you? It's very impressive. No idea what that means, but I've heard people use the term. And you have the most fantastic experience. And at the end of the meal, he turns to you and said, how was that? And you say, satisfactory. The relationship usually, founders on the rock. So that's the first thing. The first thing is language. Think about the language we're using. Let's think about it.